I became an entrepreneur because I kept getting fired. Period. Pull. Like, that's about it. Okay, another chit chat. Get ready with me. This time it isn't a rant. This time I am going to be sharing my story with you guys on how I kind of became an entrepreneur, and this story is kind of going to be centered around like how to get money, how to make money, how to become an entrepreneur, my story on how I became one, and like I guess like when to give up or something, like, and is it all like when do you know when to switch gears, when to give up on something, or when to be persistent, and basically, is it worth it going to college these days? So I never know where to begin with these stories, but I'll just begin with, long story short, I became an entrepreneur because I kept getting fired. Period. Pull. Like, that's about it. I kept getting fired. And I wasn't doing nothing. I deserved my job. Now, I'm not going to say that I never did anything like, and if it's noisy out, it's like the middle of the day, so sorry about that if you hear like sirens and stuff. But I'm not gonna sit up and say that I never did nothing at all to deserve losing my job. Like, never made any type of mistakes, never was ratchet in any way, because I kind of was, you know. Like, for example, it was this one time I had told a girl from the job, meet me out in the parking lot, boo. Like, we could settle this out there. And we did. Thank God for growth, okay? A little bit more refined, a little bit more sophisticated these days. You know, I would never now, but I did back then. But for the most part, you know, it was a lot of jobs that I had that I really liked, and that, you know, I tried my best on and was doing my best and giving it my all, and I still lost my job. So when I reached the pinnacle of jobs, like that's when I just decided, like, hey, I'm not doing this anymore. And I guess I would have to say that it was pretty much kind of like divine timing and divine will, because when I was getting fired from all of those jobs, I just kept saying to myself, like, you know, it don't matter if that job was just a stepping stone. Like, you know, I'm headed down this path in this direction anyway. Like, that's nothing. And it really wasn't, because like every job I lost, God blessed me with a bigger and better job the very next time. Because like I said, I lost a lot of the jobs unfairly, unjustly. A lot of the work environments were just plain old toxic and, you know, competitive and all of this stuff like that. And when I did lose the job, like, it was kind of like God was like, don't even worry about it, because, you know, I have something bigger and better for you. And each and every time, you know, he did. So I guess that's why I stayed in the job market so long. And I guess because, you know, I've always had my makeup business, and it's always just kind of like been a side hustle, and things that I did for fun, and things that I did for free, and things that I did because I thought that I was going to be a doctor. And I still might choose to go down that path, going to medical school. You know, I would have to pray on it and ask that God's will is done in that area, if that's something that, you know, he even want me to do. And it's also something that I have to kind of be real with myself on, and kind of like know if I want to if I enjoy practicing on skin that much. And the reason that I don't know now is because I'm just in such a curious phase, and I'm pretty much just learning everything now. And I enjoy giving facials, and I enjoy helping people. Still, I enjoy the different treatments that I'm able to do, chemical peels and stuff like that. So as I, continue to practice skin therapy, I would have to make the decision then. I always, had I always had my makeup business. I was always in school, and I kind of always just kept saying that, these jobs, it's nothing but a stepping stone, you know what I mean? I always went on to bigger and better. And at the very end, when I decided, okay, I'm about to do something else, that was ultimately bigger and better too, because I had, God allowed me to see every single, He allowed me to reach the milestones that I set out to reach with corporate America and with schooling, pretty much. I had ended up landing, not my dream job, but sort of like my dream job, because it was like my dream industry, if that makes sense. I landed a job in pharmaceuticals, and that's what I ultimately wanted to do. I ultimately wanted to work in pharmaceuticals. I worked in pharmaceuticals. I made more money than I had ever made at any other job. And, at the end of the day, I still was unhappy. I still got fired. I still, it was still the same story. Even when and this wasn't the milestone job. This wasn't the stepping stone job, and it was still the same story. Okay, all these other little rinky-dink jobs that you got fired from, you classified those jobs as just, stepping stones, and now you got fired from your dream job. So, and, while I was, and I know, the difference between then and now is that, one, I had started incorporating prayer into dealing with these jobs. I started saying, Lord, let your will be done with these jobs, because I definitely noticed a pattern that I just kept getting fired. And me being the analytical person that I am, I literally tried to figure out why, and like I said, made excuses for why. And I guess I never really considered entrepreneurship in the way that God has made me be one. I think that anybody who works a secular job probably has some type of plan that they gonna get out one day and start their own company and blah, 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 blah. And that was kind of what I was saying to myself too. I would one day, that I would one day work for myself after saving so much money, or doing this or doing that, or, all of this stuff. And sometimes that's what we need as humans. We need that push. We need that boost. We need that jolt. And I know for certain that I do, because I am one, life gets so busy, and two, I'm just the type of person who will just keep going and going, and I'm loyal. I'm a loyal person. So if it wasn't for that push, if it wasn't for the door being closed on me, I would have definitely stayed. And I feel like I wouldn't have ever stepped into my purpose. And I also feel like, it happened on time. I feel like it happened, everything happened with the perfect timing or whatever, because, with my educational background, I am an amazing esthetician now. I have so much knowledge about this field because I've studied the medical field for so long. And I'm really able to kind of hit the ground running and come right in and help people. And, you know, once again, like I said, every time you get fired, every time I got fired, it was, I went on to bigger and better. And it's no difference here. Like when I got fired from my quote unquote dream job, I went on to bigger and better, which is, you know, going from an employee to an employer. So now I'm in a position where, you know, I can, you know, hire staff if I need to or want to because I run a business. As of right now, I'm just enjoying practicing and learning about skin on my own. And people be like, you do everything. And it's just like, wow, I do. And they be like, yeah. And I don't know why people, you know, say that about me. Like, they like, you do everything. You can do it all. And it's just like, it's so flattering because it's just like, really? Wow. Oh, okay. But it's, you know, that's kind of because, you know, I have not found my niche yet where I can just like narrow it down. Like a lot of like cosmetologists, they'll tell you when they got out of school, they did everything. They did hair, they did nails, they did shortcuts, they did long hair, they did braids, they did sew-ins, they did everything that they could do. They offered all of those services because one, you know, they could, and they just didn't narrow it down to their niche. And then, you know, after being in the game for a while, they kind of found their groove, their stride. And now instead of doing all types of hair, now all they do is short hair, or all they do is color, or all they do is this or this or that. So for me, I don't know. I'm excited to see where, you know, the path takes me, and what I end up narrowing down on, and it's gonna be something that, you know, that I enjoy the most, and it's gonna be something that, of course, is a lucrative, something that's more lucrative, because I've been a makeup artist for a long time, and that's not the most lucrative aspect of my business, because makeup is a special occasions type of thing. So people are only getting that, you know, when they have a prom or graduation or getting married or whatever else. So that's really not the most lucrative thing, because it's like a seasonal thing. So now that I've added more, you know, services to my menu, then, you know, I hopefully, you know, I'll have just a few, because I'm never going to give makeup up. Like, I'm probably going to always do that. But where I see myself going is microblading. But, you know, I don't know if I'm going to like it like that. I might not like it like that. You know, when I'm like, hopefully that it'll be like, you know, some of my top favorites that are my top favorites right now, which is the facials and, of course, makeup, and, you know, my classes still. I don't know. You know, people fall out of love with stuff and get bored with stuff. So we'll see. And the reason that I felt like I should do my story now and kind of address these things is because I recently was featured in the Chicago Defender. My girl, hey girl, shout out to my girl Rock, for featuring me in the Chicago Defender, and it kind of was like telling my story as far as, you know, how I became an entrepreneur, and the article focused on my business, you know. It was like, you know, black businesses that you should know, something like that. And I just figured like today would be a good day to sit down and do my how I became an esthetician video, my story video, how to be an entrepreneur video, like should you go to college? Should you go to college in today's world? I don't know. It's a tricky question because there's a lot of degrees out here that, you know, people are getting and they can't like find employment with, and it's just like art director, like what's that? And you paid like, you know, $150,000 to get this art director degree, and you know now you can't get a job. So if it's something like that, then I would probably say no. But if it's a, you know, if it's something that goes with today's world, like you're going to school for, you know, something to do with computers, or you are, you know, trying to be a medical doctor or a math teacher, or, you know, something that will be around, you know, one of those careers that like you can't teach yourself, you have to go and, you know, you have to go and get formal training for it, then I would say, yeah, go ahead and go to school because you have to. But if you don't have to, then I would say either be an entrepreneur, or I would say go and get the experience, go to school, but try to go for free. Like if it's going to require you to take out all of these loans and stuff like that, then I would say that it's not worth doing. Because so many people, like I said, they can't even get a job. So it wouldn't be worth it because you wouldn't be able to pay it back. But if you could go to college and you could go for free, go. I had, it's a great experience. I'm blessed that I was just always true to myself when I picked my college career, and I didn't go because and choose what I feel like was going to make me the most money or whatever else. I kind of was like true to myself. Like in my early 20s, I guess, it was actually like 9/11. I was in school for trying to, it wasn't college, it was like a certificate program trying to be an EMT. So after studying to become an EMT, I absolutely just like fell in love with the human body. I felt like it was amazing and phenomenal, and that's kind of how I settled on what I felt like I wanted to do as far as pursuing a college degree. It was after, you know, I was able to study the human body and, you know, just see how miraculous it is. And it made me want to be a doctor. And at the time, I didn't want to be a medical doctor. I wanted to do something that was a little bit more, drop my damn beauty blender. I wanted to do something that was a little bit more clean. So after deciding to push pills, it kind of had me torn just a little bit, because on one hand, you know, I absolutely do believe in, you know, medicine, and I've seen how it works and can work for people to make them better, and, you know, and then on the other hand, I saw how like all of these new prescriptions is coming out, every day, and then the next thing you know, you see a commercial for it because it's being recalled. So I was torn because, like, you know, I'm like, you know, I don't want to give people stuff that will hurt them or whatever. And with me, you know, and then I found reasoning like, well, I could just work with a doctor and only prescribe things that I know that work, like penicillin and blah, 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 blah. And it just was, you know, all a stepping stone, all necessary for me to get to where I am. I had to just keep walking, and I had to just keep living life, and I had to just keep being, you know, true to myself, and knowing what I want, and honoring that, and knowing who I am and honoring that, because I've always been a person that I'm into like holistic health and healing, and that's just like who I am in my personal everyday life. Like, for me, like, I don't run and go and get a lot of medications, even though that was like the career path that I was going to be on, because I didn't know that the type of medical doctor that I am going to be, or wanted to shoot to be, or would, consider being, was a dermatologist. Like, that's just not, it's just not something that I ever considered, you know. So now, you know, it is something that, you know, I would consider, or do consider, like, wow, you know, that's the type of doctor that I would be. Like, I don't have any type of conflict of interest if I choose to be a dermatologist. Like, everything that they do, like, I believe in all of that stuff. Like, I'm not saying, like, certain dermatologists may, you know, have a focus of treating skin cancer or something like that, and then there's other dermatologists that all they do is laser and Botox and, you know, fillers and stuff like that. And that is the type of medical doctor that I would be if I do choose to go back to school. If I do choose that, you know, I really love working with skin like that, and I want to, you know, go down the road further with skin treatments, then that will be, you know, the next move that I make. And then it's also, you know, when to give up. And I think, once again, you just have to know yourself, and be true to yourself. For me, I think I hit a breaking point. I think that I was just like, you know, I'm not doing this no more, because I think you know, when things happened for me, when things unfolded for me the way things unfolded, it was just like, I got what, I was at that pinnacle, you know what I mean? I had always said, well, this job is just a stepping stone. This job is just a stepping stone. And this job, this last job, when I decided that I was done with corporate and that I would be, you know, an entrepreneur, it wasn't a stepping stone. It was supposed to be like the job. It was supposed to be like, you know, I was in the industry, and I was supposed to stay there for a while, and, you know, climb and elevate and, you know, move around. And this is what I went to school for. I'm finally hired for all of my years of training and all of that stuff like that. And it still went exactly the same that every other job that I ever had went. So that was enough for me. It was enough for me to just say, okay, you know what? Not even pretty much be real with myself. It was just like, I was fed up. You know what I mean? Like, I just was fed up. Because this job fired me at Christmas time, knowing I'm a single parent, okay? Fired me at Christmas time and didn't even give me a reason, okay? They just was like, You know, it was a toxic work environment. And when I was there, I was very unhappy because of how toxic it was. Like, I was just used to walk around that place like, this is what you've been waiting for all of this time? You've been waiting to get here? Like, you said all these jobs were stepping stones, and they was. Now you're at the job, and this is it? Like, this is what you've been waiting for? It's still, I don't care how much money you make, and the company laptop and all of this other type of stuff. Like, it's still toxic. You still unhappy. It's still like the same effing thing. Like, none of these jobs are different. They're all the same. And, you know, I was telling my brother, like, man, I don't like this, you know. And he was like, you know, nobody like their job. He like, everybody hate their job. Like, you're not alone in this. And, you know, a poll was taken. Like, do you hate your job? Do you hate your job? Everybody like, yes. You know, and if you talk to anybody about a job, everybody will tell you the same stuff, that these jobs is toxic, and you know, everybody agrees. Like, you can't sit up and say to somebody, jobs are toxic. These workplaces are toxic, and then they just like disagree. Like, everybody's gonna be like, yeah, these workplaces are toxic. A lot of these workplaces are toxic. So, yeah. I was just like, yeah, I'm not gonna do this. Like, you know, this isn't what I signed up for. Like, I have a makeup business, and I always wanted to do lashes. I wanted to do the mink lashes when they first came out, over 10 years ago. I actually had them, or have some. I may still even have them, but they came in pots, and they were loose, and I kind of got into it back then. However, I was told that, you know, you needed to have a license in order to do lashes. And I'm a person that, you know, I'm not going to I'm not going to bring trouble on myself. Like, I know it's plenty of people out here that know they need a license to do hair and all this other type of stuff, and then they just don't get it. And, you know, that's just never been me. Like, I've always just, you know, followed the rules in that respect. Like, if you need a license to do something, then I'm just not going to do it if I don't have the license to do it. So I decided I was not going back to ever look for another job ever again. And I said, let me go ahead and do what I got to do in order to be able to do lashes like I wanted to do 10 years ago. And when I started looking into schools, they were telling me, because I was like calling the Illinois Department of Professional Regulations and stuff like that. And I was saying, okay, so I want to do lashes. What do I need to do? Like, where are a list of the accredited schools? Like, what type of program do I need to be in order to do lashes? And they kept saying, like, and let me rewind. Like, when I was at my last job, my pinnacle job, it was this lady who I worked with, and she was like, I can't work on such and such day because I have to go to school. And I was like, oh, what you going to school for? And she said, esthetician. And then I kind of was like, esthetician. And so when I started looking into my schools, like what school, what schools that I would go to in order to be able to do lashes and what type of license I need, everybody kept saying you need a cosmetology license or an esthetician license. So I'm just like, okay, what is this esthetician thing? Like, what is it? Like, what's the difference or whatever? And no one could really explain to me or tell me like what the difference was. Like, it seemed like everybody just kept on pushing to go to cosmetology school because they was just, of course, that's more money. And they just kept saying, well, a cosmetologist can do everything. A cosmetologist can do, because I was like, okay, yeah, I want to do lashes. And then they like, yeah, you can as a cosmetologist. And as a cosmetologist, that is correct. I think the only thing that a cosmetologist can't do in this state is use a razor. But a cosmetologist can do hair, can do nails, can do facials. Like I do. They are licensed to do those things. However, they don't receive the training that an esthetician does. Like, when you're in cosmetology school, it's mainly about hair, and you learn mostly hair, and then you kind of like touch on the other subjects. You know, you touch on nails, you touch on facials, you touch on all of those things, but you don't learn it like a person who went to school to be a nail tech or to be an esthetician. Like, you don't go in depth. So anyway, here I was, like, this 30-something-year-old woman who just kept saying, you know, what's the difference? What's the difference? What's the difference? So I actually started off in cosmetology school, and by the grace of God, you know, I was directed once again in the right direction, and I ended up going to esthetician school, and it was the director of the school that I went to who ended up like pretty much letting me know, helping me to make the decision to go ahead and go for the aesthetics program that I could not pay for. I couldn't afford. Again, I had gotten fired, and I was basically starting from scratch, and I pretty much didn't learn what an esthetician did until I was in the program. Like, the director helped me to make the decision, because I kept saying, hey, you know, well, everybody keeps telling me that it's the same, that in cosmetology you learn all of this stuff anyway, so why even go to aesthetic school? It's the same, you know, they could do what we do, why even do it? It's the same. And the director's like, no, it's not the same. And this is what she said that made me perk my ears up and say, I'm going to go in that direction. She said, no, it's not the same. I have a cosmetology degree. I'm a cosmetologist. And the esthetician's program is more medical based. So when she said that, I'm like, okay, that's my route then. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't going to just continue to go to school for cosmetology just because, you know, that's what I had been going to school for. And I had the opportunity to switch programs by the grace of God. I literally was just trying to figure out, like, why switch and what's the benefit of switching, and why do people keep saying this esthetician? What do this esthetician do? And it's just like, I had never known what they do. I never knew that an esthetician does facials and does chemical peels, and it's a medical professional, and they train you in esthetician school how to make your own skincare products, how to make holistic, you know, skincare products, and do electrotherapy and extractions, and just like all of the stuff that an esthetician does, I just like never knew. And like when I started going to school for that, like I cried. Like I'm just like, wow, God's will, like he's amazing. Like it was phenomenal and it was like unbelievable. And I remember I had tears in my eyes when I was giving my first facial, because it just felt like it felt right. I had known at that moment that nothing that I did was in vain, and that this is where I was supposed to be. And, you know, this is why my path, I had to take the path that I had to take, like that God had me take. Like I was definitely, I am definitely a person. I am definitely a person who has been refined by fire. And just like gold, you know, just like gold, baby. Pure gold, it only gets out all the bad stuff and all the impurities by going under, by being put under tremendous pressure and tremendous heat. So, you know, look at all of the beautiful elements on earth. Diamonds, gold. They're made by going through some things, baby. And I just feel that same way. Like I felt that same way about me then, and I feel that same way about me now. It just all made sense. Like, you know, this is where you were supposed to be. You were supposed to be at this maturity level. You were supposed to see everything you saw. You were supposed to experience everything that you went through, because without all of those firings, without having to grow up and not be so immature, without, you know, like all of that stuff prepared you for your now, which is being a business owner and, you know, entrepreneur. And I'm extremely grateful for my journey. And I look back and I recently visited one of my old jobs before all of this pandemic stuff, and I saw some of the ladies in there that sabotaged me. And the reason that I'm mentioning this job is because it was actually in the article. So I'm going to link the article below as to the Chicago Defender paper that I was in. I think it's the digital version or whatever. I still saw them same ladies in there. Them same bitches, okay, the same cake face, doing the same job for the same company, still being basic nobodies, okay? Because out of all of this time that you've been working for that company, you're still selling men's fragrance, and you still are a vendor. You still are a old hoe that's pushing. Like, you know what? Like, by this time, you should be like a director or a sales exec or a manager, or like you still the same in the same position. You still in the same position. And I always, you know, used to say, hey, you know, this job is everything to these people. You know, it's not everything to me. I'm going to move on to bigger and better. Like, this job is just a stepping stone for me. And it was, and that's true for them. Like, that job is their everything, okay? They haven't moved, and they're not gonna move. Like, it's all they have. It's all they'll ever have. I did my makeup like this the other day, and people were absolutely going crazy over it. Like, oh my God, your face is big. But yeah, that's my story. And, you know, that's how I became an entrepreneur. Pretty much by force. Pretty much because, you know, doors kept closing, and you know, I wasn't about to keep begging, and I got a chance to see what I sought out to see. So, you know, at this stage in my life, I'm like, okay, well, let me go ahead and try, you know, something different. I try something new. You know, I'm not going to keep on trying to push a square into a round hole, like, especially because, you know, I asked God about it, and I said, Lord, let your will be done. You know what I mean? Like, I'm at the job that I sought out to get. I'm at the job that I went to school all of those years to, you know, finally have a job like this, you know. So, you know, let your will be done, because I had already known my history of constantly getting fired, and I'm just like, oh my God, I don't, like, if I get fired from this job, like, I'm done. And I think that I said that after being there and just seeing how, you know, toxic it was, and how I wasn't even still happy. Like, okay, you're here. You this is what you fought tooth and nail to get to. Now you here. It's still toxic. You still not happy. Like, now what are you gonna do? And it was just like, you know, I had to get there, because I think that's what people like you don't ever want to be like, what if, you know what I mean? Like, you never want to have to say, what if, you know what I mean? So I'm so glad that I never, like, gave up on trying to get that pharmaceutical career, because, like, I would probably have that burning question in the back of my head. Like, what if? What if? This is looking good. I did my makeup like this the other day, and oh, everybody loved it. Okay, be right back. So yeah, I guess the moral of the story is to thy own self be true. I think that that's the key to knowing when to give up. I think that that's the key to knowing if, you know, you should go to college. And I think that's the key to, in your entrepreneurial journey of how to be an entrepreneur, is to thy own self be true. Like, don't ever do something that you don't want to do, or that you don't like to do, just for money. You know what I mean? Like, it's not saying that every aspect is going to be pleasant. It's just saying, are you happy in, you know, doing what you're doing? And, yeah. This video was really hard for me to do. Talking about it, because, like, you know, getting fired, that's a topic that's kind of embarrassing. And kind of make people look at you like, damn, what you do? But, you know, it's not always your fault. You know, if you lost your job, sometimes that's just like, if you're a person who believes that, you know, in God, sometimes it's God's will. Sometimes that's not the path, and that's not the direction that he wants you on. And he knows that if he doesn't do something to propel you or to push you out of that situation, he knows that you'll just stay in that situation. And I guess that's, you know, another life lesson that I would have to say is just, you know, never be afraid to change. Never be afraid to, you know, do something different. Change is a constant. It's going to happen. So I guess that will be, I don't know, my little advice, you know, when people say, hey, when should I give up? Well, you have to know you. You have to know you. Because I remember I was telling a teacher in college, like, you know, man, I keep losing my job. I keep getting fired. And he was like, yeah, that happened to me. That's my story too. And he was like, I just kept going to school until I was the boss, you know. And I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to have to do. And it happened, but not in the way that I imagined it. It happened in a much bigger way. It happened, and that's just like God's plans. It's always way bigger than you can ever imagine. Like, you have your plan, and then God have his plan. And trust me when I tell you, his plan for your life cannot, it just does not, your plan does not compare to his plan. Like, what he has for you, it's going to exceed wherever and whatever you saw for yourself. It really is. Like, and I'm just excited to be on this new journey and, you know, see where it's going to take me, because I've been doing all right. Okay. Every customer that I have love me. I've been in business for myself full time at this moment since 2018. And, you know, I stepped out there with pretty much 0 customers, because like I said, makeup is a special occasions thing. So I really didn't have, you know, customers. It wasn't prom season or anything like that. And, you know, I stepped out there, I did my research, made flyers, just did everything that I could. And, I stepped out there and I got a beauty shop. I leased a beauty shop, and I have been in business for 2 years now. I have, you know, been able to pay, every month to keep the doors of my shop open, and I have customers, and my bills are getting paid. Pretty much, you know, like, end of story, pretty much. So, I'm blessed. I'm very, 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 very blessed. So, if you are looking to be an entrepreneur, all I can say is, you know, go out there, you know, do it. You know, that was my story. That's how I became one. That's how you get more money. That's how you get rich. That's how you become an entrepreneur. You just go out there and you do it. You be true to yourself. You honor what it is you like and what you love. And you step out there and you become an entrepreneur and you never look back. Period. Okay? And it's all about being true to yourself. It's all about honoring what you like and love to do. You know what I mean? Like, if you're just going to open a Chick-fil-A or just open some type of business or whatever, it's worked for many people. It's worked for many people. Can't say it haven't. People buy franchises every day, and those indeed are entrepreneurs. However, for me, and my advice is to do what you love, because just because you buy a franchise doesn't mean it's a foolproof business. Like, we've all seen Burger Kings and stuff that has gotten shut down and, you know, went out of business or stuff like that. So it's not a guarantee if you just jump on an opportunity to make money and an opportunity to be an entrepreneur for something that you're not passionate about, that you don't love, like, don't do it because you feel like this is a guaranteed formula for success, because it's pretty much not. It's pretty much not. Especially if you don't have that passion for it and that drive. Like, you'll get burnt out quick. And that's another reason why I really don't even worry about, like, people doing what I do. And people like, well, don't you think the makeup industry is saturated, or YouTube is saturated, or blah, blah, blah? Well, you know what? I'm here to tell you, as a person that's been around and in the business for a while, people don't last when it's not their passion. Like, if you're doing something just to be doing it, or you're excited about it in that moment, you know, all of that stuff changes, and all that stuff changes often. Like, I've been in makeup, I'm gonna be in makeup. I've seen people come and go in the makeup industry. So I'm here to tell you that, you know, if you don't absolutely love it, and it's not something that's just like deeply embedded in you, then you will give up. You know, I have a client who had a salon business, a successful salon business, and she did it for the money, and she walked away from that business. It did not make her happy. So if you are going to be an entrepreneur, you should do something that you like to do, something that you love to do. It has to be something that you want to do. Like, I want to do makeup. I want to do facials. I want to be on YouTube recording. I want to take pictures. I want to make videos. Like, all of that stuff is something that I enjoy. I just genuinely enjoy doing. Is it a lot of work that goes into it? A lot of the times, yes, it's some work that goes into it. However, it's still something that I like to do and that I want to do. So yeah, you guys, that is my story. That is my journey of how I became an entrepreneur, and how, like, you can too. Thank you so much for chit-chatting, getting ready with me. I appreciate it. This was like a really hard thing to get off of my chest. So thank you guys for, like, listening with me and sharing in my story with me and in my journey. And I am excited to continue to share my life with you guys. And yeah, I appreciate you for joining me. I hope you like this look. It's just me, baby. It's just me, hunty, just honey, just soft and simple, okay? Soft, simple, and to the point. Beat, snatched for the gods. Can't nobody tell me nothing. If you say I'm not, use a lie. So thank you so much, and I'll be sure to see you on the next one. Mwah.